On today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast, part two of post-bye week Houston Texans, the future is what we're going to talk about and how everything may shape up for Davis Mills moving forward. Don't go anywhere. It's Monday. Start your week with the Locked On Texans.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily Houston Texans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Monday episode of the Locked On Texan podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm John Hickman, joined by Cody Davis. Of course, part two brings along Brian Bearfield, Big Sarge, and Brandon K. Scott. Today's episode of Locked On Texans is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projections, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. You already know who's joining the show today. Part two, as I mentioned, have a phenomenal show set up for you guys. I think a perfect week for Houston fans. Astros went ahead and swept the Mariners. Mariners got everybody mad. If you're a UT fan, we took care of business. If you're a fan of UT in Tennessee, they took care of business. And that's exactly where I'm going to start this show. We're going to talk about the future of the Houston Texans. Cannot do that. That's the main point why we're here today. But we cannot start this show without talking about what happened on Saturday. Bryce Young, Tennessee, the electricity that came with that game. I got to ask y'all, man, is Bryce Young the next Houston Texans quarterback if they have an opportunity to pick him in next April?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've been on the Bryce Young train really since the beginning of, I want to say since the beginning of the year, probably even going back to last year, but certainly since the beginning of the year. I love the game that he had against Texas, even though that game is known for one that Alabama underachieved in and almost let get away. I thought he made some plays in that game. I mean, he just seems to have it all. Now, the thing I am concerned about is, like, my biggest question is he really 6 feet or is he more 5'10"? You know, and I don't know the answer to that. I have not been close to him. I'm 6 feet even. I have not been close to him, but that is a question mark for me because if he's 6 feet, I can live with that. The 195 or whatever it is bothers me a little bit. I need him to bulk up. But he seems to be a strong kid, even as small as he is, as slight as he is. And beyond that, the size thing, I mean, he's got all the tools that you're looking for, from pocket passing to mobility to decision-making, awareness. Like, he doesn't rattle. I mean, yeah, like he's got all the tools as far as I'm concerned, minus the obvious concerns about the size.
For me, I don't know. I don't know if I'm sold on Bryce Young just yet. What I seen on what I seen on Saturday, excuse me, my mind, y'all got to forgive me. It's my wife's birthday weekend, and sure, we just been going. And so, happy birthday, Chrissy. What I seen on Saturday from Bryce Young is a person who I'm more concerned about him, the way he holds the ball. He holds the ball for a very long time. He takes a lot of unnecessary sacks and a lot of unnecessary hits. And I know that the Houston Texans have a good offensive line, and they may be rebuilding. They may be one player away. I put it like this: they may be one right guard and center away from being an elite offensive line, in my opinion. But when you have a young quarterback like that and you're bringing him into the fold, and he still has to learn the game speed of the NFL, when he has to learn the route tree, there's a totally different route tree when it comes to the NFL than these wide receivers. When he has to learn that, when he has to get the familiarity with the wide receivers and who he's going to be playing with, it may be easy for him because Mechie will be returning, but he just holds the ball entirely too long for me. And I get it. He's trying to wait for someone to come open, like excuse me, what Patrick Mahomes does. Patrick Mahomes holds the ball entirely too long for me sometimes, but when he makes the electrifying plays, it comes across as wow. but he also takes a lot of sacks. He also takes some unnecessary hits. So I just want him to be able to clean up some of those things, and then I could say he could be the quarterback for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I think a lot of that time that Alabama quarterbacks get, you're not gonna get that time in the NFL. It's much quicker, and I definitely agree with your route tree. Hendon Hooker, 6'4", 215, my Heisman favorite right now, also had a damn good day against the Alabama Crimson Tide. So I do want to ask you, Sarge, you just talked, so I want to, you mentioned the offensive line. What has been your assessment of the offensive line since Britt's departure and the insertion of Quisenberry?
Uh, Questenberry is one of those guys who I think that's still learning the game. He's one of those guys who needs to pick it up just a tad bit more. I think it was the Jacksonville. No, I think it was the Jacksonville game where he didn't call out a blitz protection, and he allowed the blitzer to come right up the middle scot free. He didn't recognize that the blitz was coming until late, even though the linebacker had pretty much walked up. The linebacker had pretty much walked up to the line. He never changed. He never changed anything. And when the ball was snapped, he went to help Kenyon Green instead of stopping the linebacker. Now, the one thing that the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive coordinator did was really smart was he brought two blitzers. If Questenberry would have picked up the first one, Damian Pierce would have been able to pick up the second one. But Damian Pierce was only able to pick up the first one, and the second one came scot-free and got to Davis Mills. And if I'm not mistaken, they only had one sack in that game. Only gave up one sack in that game against Jacksonville, and that I think that's where it came from. So I want him to be more aware. Now, that also, to me, falls a little bit on Davis Mills because he doesn't call out a lot of – he doesn't do a lot of at-the-line adjusting. He doesn't switch the pass protection a lot either. So that's on him to be able to recognize that, because when you have a quarterback center combination that can talk to each other and that's on the same page, I think that will work. But other than that, I mean, Kenyon Green had his issues early on, and I know that he is a rookie. He is learning the game. He's getting better as time goes on, because that's a big jump. No matter if he could have been a 3-year, 4-year All-American in college. You're playing against grown men now. You're playing against grown men who have been playing the game, who has that type of experience, and the speed is much faster. So I think that they are just like I said, a center and maybe a right guard away from being an elite line.
We open up this show talking about Bryce Young. Brandon, I would like to ask you this question. Do you see anything that Davis Mills can do in these final 11, 12 games of the season that can actually change the Houston Texans' mind of saying, you know what, we do not need to go after a quarterback. We are fine with Davis Mills moving forward. Do you see that happening in any scenario?
I don't see the scenario myself. Now, is there something that he could do? I mean, yeah. I mean, look, he could set the world on fire. Like they could. Here's the thing: if they open it up for him and start actually letting him throw the ball, and then he performs. Now, I don't see either one of those things happening. Like, I think the play calling in the Jacksonville game told us a lot. Okay, that told us a lot about how they view Davis Mills, at least right now. And I don't know what he can do between now and between now and the end of the season, to get that confidence in him. Like it feels like that's like they kind of have a view of what is the best way to go about offense. Like, let Davis Mills manage the game, but really rely on your running game. So like at what point are they going to really kind of let it loose and let him kind of show them that he can be that guy? Really, it almost feels like, based off of how they're calling the game, like the fact that we didn't see too many passes further than 10 yards until really almost during there into the second half last Sunday. Like that, to me, that told me a lot. So is it possible? Sure. Like I'm not going to rule it out and say that it's not possible, but do I see it? No, I do not see it, especially when you talk about the different quarterbacks that are going to be available between Bryce Young, between Will Levis and all of these other guys. Okay, obviously, C.J. Stroud is somebody that It just like checks all the boxes from a physical standpoint. You're just like, wow, look at this guy. Like everything that I was saying about Bryce Young, the places where he doesn't measure up, CJ Stroud does.
Mm.
So it's like, okay, well, and think about it like this too when you talk about Davis Mills' limitations. Like the guy is capable, okay? He can make throws, but he has some limitations. And I think that those limitations are what lends itself to the inconsistency that we see.
And you
All
know
right.
what, B? Hold on,
Go
B. Let
ahead.
me.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say this real quick, and that piggybacks off the question that John asked me about the offensive line, because the biggest misconception is he doesn't have enough time. But if you look at the numbers and you go back and you actually watch the games, there's a lot of times Davis Mills speeds his own self up.
Yeah.
He speeds himself up.
So Sarge, he is one of the. This was a couple weeks ago when I looked this stat up. I should check it again and see if it's updated. But at least through the first 3 or 4 weeks, he was getting the ball out quicker than almost anybody. Like top 5 or 6, getting the ball out quick, and that's not because he's Drew Brees or because he's diagnosing the defense and all of that, and because he's just getting the ball out. It's because he's like you just said, speeding himself up, making his reads too quick, locking in on his decisions, and yeah, I mean, and that kind of bears itself out on the games that we see.
You know, when we come back, I got to ask you guys about the general manager here in town, Nick Casario. I do want to piggyback off talking about the quarterbacks that are coming out. I would flirt, if I'm Houston, to address the major issues on this team and then maybe look for a quarterback in the third or fourth round, which is why I brought up Hendon Hooker earlier in the show, because he had a phenomenal day, and I think that his draft stock is tremendously increasing upward. Listen, guys, do you want some more energy to counter the negative physical effects of aging? Nugenix Total T Testosterone Booster with testosterone will help you turn back the clock, re-energize your workout, get better results at the gym, and help you look and feel like the man you really want to be. Nugenix Total T contains man-boosting key ingredients like testosterone. It has been validated in 5 clinical studies shown to boost free testosterone levels in men. While every product professes quality, many other products use generic ingredients that often far less than clinical grade. With Nugenix Total T, you get the same clinical potency levels used in the trials. And Nugenix formulation is backed by 10 years of science and research. Come on now. Can't beat it. Get your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T when you text NFL to 231231. Text now and get a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, their most powerful fat burner incinerator ever, with key ingredients to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Just text NFL to 231231. Text NFL to 231231. Message and data rates may apply. Terms apply. Available at nugenix.com/terms. Our next partner has a product I literally use every day. I started taking AG1 because it helped me with my morning routine, just kind of waking up and getting my energy and my day started. AG1 Athletic Greens really helped me with that. So let me tell you what AG1 is. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you are, listen, you are absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients support your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, your recovery, your focus, aging, all of those things. You cannot beat it. And let me tell you something, it's lifestyle friendly. Whether you eat keto, vegan, dairy free, or gluten free, that works with your diet. Don't have to make any changes. GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. It supports better sleep quality and recovery, supports mental clarity and alertness. It's one thing with the best thing. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iteration and third party testing. To make it easy, Athletic Green is going to give you 1 free year of supply of immune system supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs for your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NFL network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NFL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, to this Monday installment of Locked On Texans. And with the bye week for the Houston Texans taking place on yesterday, I had an opportunity to check out some of the other rookies around the NFL. And boy, Sauce Gardner, my God, had a really good game helping the New York Jets win 27-10 over the Green Bay Packers. Breece Hall as well. B. Scott, Sarge, I'm gonna start off with you. When you take a look at what Derek Stingley has been able to do through the first 5 games of his career, how much do you think he is actually in the wrong system? Because I was looking at Sauce Gardner on yesterday, and the Jets run more so than zone coverage. And I was looking at Sauce Gardner, and I sat there and I said to myself, I truly do believe that Derek Stingley Jr. has the potential to do everything that we see out of Sauce, but there's only so much he can do because Lovie Smith, he loves that Tampa too. He loves that zone coverage. And how much do you feel that is sort of like getting into the way of what Derek Stingley could be?
I feel like this is a setup question, Cody.
It's not a setup question.
I feel like
I watched it. And I said to myself, we got that same type of potential here in Houston.
The reason why I say I feel like this is a setup question because you and I have had this conversation on numerous occasions offline. You know exactly how I feel about the way that they're using Derek Stingley Jr. right now in this zone defense. And shout out to Robert Saleh, head coach of the New York Jets. He said, I'm keeping receipts. And now he's starting to pull those receipts when you're talking about his team. But he's also a defensive-minded coach. And so when you have
Lovie Smith too,
a modern. A modern.
Yes, John.
That's why I said I knew one of y'all was going to get that.
Not a Tecmo Bowl. Not a Tecmo Bowl. He a Madden. He a Madden coach. Not a John Walsh. Was it John Walsh football? He not one of those. So yes, I think that and even I put it like this. I'm not saying that Lovie Smith and his system is so antiquated that it still can't be good. But you have to find different variations of mixing it up. And you know what I mean by that? It's like, when I was growing up, right? My mama could take a pound of ground meat and do so many meals with it, so many different things. But, it's still ground meat. But, it could be spaghetti. It could be hamburger helper. It could be meatloaf. Like it could have been it could have been beans, rice, and ground meat together. Like you took that 1 pound of ground meat and did so many other things with it. If Lovie Smith mixed up his defensive packages more, not just when you get down or let's run it this one series and then revert back to doing something else. Maybe we'll throw them off and make them think that we're going to do that. No, because they know that you have a propensity to go back to what you're used to. And so with Derek Stingley Jr., with Sauce Gardner. we was talking hip hop earlier. With Sauce Gardner, they are giving him the freedom to say, look, we know that you're a rookie, but we know that you're a very talented rookie. We know that you're a very talented defensive back. We know that your football instincts are really good. We will allow you to make those mistakes. We'll call them growing pains. We'll allow you to do those type of things. Because if you're asking me, if Derek Stingley had the freedom that I'm not even talking about Sauce Gardner. If Derek Stingley had the freedom that Jalen Ramsey had, we would be talking about how good he is. Because when I look at Jalen Ramsey, when I look at the potential of Derek Stingley Jr., I'm saying to myself, it's almost like I'm looking in a mirror. It is almost like if they stood next to each other, I would say, wow, I didn't even know that you guys were twins. The issue is, though, Derek Stingley doesn't have that freedom yet. And if they don't allow him to be able to do what he needs to do. Because here's the thing. I had this conversation with someone the other day when they were talking about, but when Derek Stingley was in college, I was like, when Derek Stingley was in college, he stepped on LSU's campus as an All-American. He was an All-American as a true freshman. After that, All-American, and he won a national championship. What is there? What else is there for him to do except bide his time until he's able to go to the NFL? Oh, well, and I understand he got hurt, but the other times they're like, oh man, I said he was bored. And I know that may be my opinion only, but he's saying to himself, like, I'm ready to go to the next level. Earlier, before this show started, we were talking about, different types of hip hop artists, different types of rappers, and we use Andre 3000. Hey man, he probably got bored with rap, so he went to learn how to play the guitar and the flute. We talked about Lil Wayne, Dwayne Carter, got bored with rap, so he learned how to skateboard. I feel like that's perfect in describing what Derek Stingley Jr. was in college. Okay, look, I'm ready to go to the next level. I need that next challenge. So once they get him out of that zone-minded, antiquated defense, he'll be different.
I do want to mention real quick, shout out to the mamas, man, because sometimes they'll take that ground meat, put some onions in there after they take it out, flour it up, make a little gravy, put it on top with some rice. Shout out to my mama and shout out to my grandmother, mother, rest in peace. But let's take the conversation and move differently because we're talking about defense. And right now we know that Lovie Smith is the Houston Texans head coach. Year 1, 1-3-1 as his record. But I want to look at Nick Casario, the general manager, who brought Lovie Smith in after going through a quote-unquote full hiring process. And at the end of the day, Lovie Smith was the right choice, right candidate for him. But this season hasn't been really favorable. And we've seen the tweets or the discussion that after this year, Lovie Smith should be gone. Can Nick Casario afford another coach during his tenure?
So the reason why that question is so difficult to answer, and I think first of all, to answer
and another one and done coach. I want to mention that.
To answer it in short, I think the answer is yes. Should it be? Should that be the case? No, I don't agree with it, but I do think that the short answer to your question is yes. The reason it's really hard to really cipher is because we don't know what Nick Casario is really being evaluated by. Like if we're evaluating the head coaching hires and how all of that's gone over the last couple of years, those would be the merits against Nick Casario. But what I don't know is how that is viewed by the folks above Nick Casario or by the other folks that are in on that conversation, meaning ownership, meaning other folks that are in management, right? Like, the Jack Easterby's of the world, like everybody who has some kind of influence on the future of the franchise. I don't know if they view the whole coaching thing and how odd it looks to the rest of us and how much of a demerit it should be to the rest of us. I don't know if they view it that way. So while we're looking at it from the outside, like, 3 coaches in 3 years,
that's inexcusable.
2 one-and-dones. The first one being David Culley, and then the second one being somebody who was on David Culley's staff that you knew already. Like, it's and then of course that not even counting the Josh McCown thing, which they obviously view differently from most of the public because they're the ones that wanted to do it in the first place. So it's hard to really to really cipher out because you don't really know what the decision makers are evaluating the general manager on. Does it matter to them that they've gone through 3 coaches in 3 years, really 4 coaches in 4 years, if you count the fact that the previous year, I mean, I don't know if you want to even count Romeo in there, but if you just count Bill, now we're talking about 4 coaches in 4 years. I mean, that looks like it. And all of a sudden, and another thing about it, I don't know how much this matters to them either, but I'm curious what y'all think. But like, we talk about a couple of years ago when David Culley got the job, what was the conversation or the narrative was, well, did nobody want this job? This is not a desirable job and all of that, right? How the hell is it more desirable 2 years later and you didn't fire 2 dudes in a row?
Damian Pierce, Derek Stingley Jr.
But the issue though, if you don't believe in management, that's a problem. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be a lot of teams with good players. You can go to every roster and find 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 players that you can name off that you like and want to coach. But if you don't believe in management, like not even that you're gonna get fired in a year, but do they know what they're doing?
If they, Carolina, I can't name you. Maybe two players out of Carolina.
All right,
DJ
all right.
Moore, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick
No, I
Brown,
don't want
Brian Burns.
Christian McCaffrey. No, I don't want that. So he should put MASH on the back of his jersey. His name should be McCaffrey. It should be MASH unit. No, blue tint. His name should be blue tint.
Oh man.
I didn't mean to cut you off, and I know that this is a sports talk with Big Sarge, but I do have to bring in one of the hosts, Cody M. Davidson, on this discussion, only because him and I have had this discussion about this Nick Casario question, and he has an interesting take on it. So, Cody,
we need to hear it.
Yes.
You guys are going to find out after the break. Please be sure to stick around for more Locked On Texans coming up.
I started with Prize Picks, and the ad that we do and we tell everybody, it doesn't really do it justice. When I tell you guys it's super easy, it is super easy. All you have to do is pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projections, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. Now, what do I mean? Okay, well, let's say that Dalvin Cook was projected to have 75 rushing yards. Well, you can bet on whether or not he's going to have more, or you can bet on whether or not he's going to have less. And if he has whatever you go with, then you win money. First time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. Again, super easy, super simple. Prize Picks with promo code Locked On. Visit prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. Thanks for getting the Locked On Texans your first listen every day, Monday through Friday. Now make your second listen the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson give you the expert NFL analysis in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, to this Monday installment of Locked On Texans. And Sarge, you called me out, man. And look, I understand where everything lies with this whole Nick Casario project that we're going through right now. But at the end of the day, I look at it from the standpoint, if he moves on from Lovie Smith and hires another coach and they bottom out again next year, nothing's going to happen to Nick Casario, because at the end of the day, for some reason, when you take a look at ownership, they love Nick Casario and he isn't going anywhere. I think he has a 6 to 7 year contract. This man can literally go through 6 to 7 head coaching hires and nothing will happen to him. And it's excusable, but at the same time, it's the reality of the situation. And that's how you have to look at this. Now, this is no shot to ownership or whatever the case might be. But when you take a look at all the mishaps that has been happening with this organization ever since basically since they blew that big lead against Kansas City, who just lost to the Buffalo Bills, it's just basically what is expected. And at the end of the day, it didn't matter if it was in the position where they are now with Davis Mills, if they was in a position where they were with Deshaun Watson, or in a position where they were with Andre Johnson. This organization has a strange obsession with being the next New England Patriots. And you take a look at almost everybody in that building, it's the New England way, unfortunately.
I have to say this. The 44% back is great. The hamburgers and hot dogs is great. The Reddit is great. All of that is great. But the haircuts were mid. But
I like the haircuts, by the way. That was fun. It was fun when you was there.
It was a great gesture. But this is still the National Football League, and this is the youngest franchise in the National Football League. And this franchise can't afford to continue to be mediocre when their history in the state of Texas says otherwise. This is Texas. Dallas can afford to year in and year out be who the Dallas Cowboys is. They have the rings to back it up. They are still, no matter how we really feel about their fans, America's team. They have one of the most storied franchises they have one of the most, regardless of how we feel about Jerry Jones and whether or not him and Steven have been ruining their franchise.
You're getting Sarge excited. So come on.
But
we got you.
Regardless of how we feel about them now, they have a history. Houston don't have no history. And if we were to give them a history in their first 20 years of existence, it would be the ups and downs of being a loser. They cannot afford, this is me talking. If Lovey goes and there's 2 one and dones, I've never seen a general manager come back from that.
You will this
and
time.
I've never seen a general manager come back from hiring the likes of a David Culley. I've never seen a general manager go through the hiring process where Josh McCown, who's never been on a real coaching staff, was a consideration for head coach. Now, has Nick Casario done a very good job in the draft, especially when his first year he had an opportunity to have 2 first-round picks? Absolutely. But a lot of his decisions in terms of not drafting has been very questionable, including hiring David Culley. If Lovey is going, then I'm sorry, Nick should be right behind him. No question. It's not even a question to me. And I do want to move on to the quarterback play of Davis Mills. We hadn't really talked about him. And so since we have 12 games left.
John, I'm sorry. I just got to ask one quick question. I'm sorry. I apologize to the Cody, how do you say it? The viewers, fans, and listeners?
Yes, sir.
I apologize. John, I just have to give you a small pushback on the drafting. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. I do know that he brought in some great talent, right? But to me, if Nick Casario was really serious about moving this team forward, if Nick Casario was really about the future of this team, if Nick Casario really believed in Pep Hamilton, he would have taken Malik Willis over Christian Harris.
We have to have that conversation later in this year. I'm all for it.
Okay,
I am all for that. Please, we're gonna pin that. But I do want to mention this. I'm glad you mentioned who they should have took over, whoever, in terms of the quarterback position, because I do want fans to understand this. There was a real thought behind bringing in Sam Howell. Houston really liked Sam Howell, and they didn't do that. And so for the Davis Mills truthers and fans of Davis Mills, the Mills Club, understand this. We may look at whether or not they put a lot around him for him to succeed, but one thing the Houston Texans did do, and Davis Mills is not capitalizing off of this, is making sure there's nobody really looking over his shoulder for that starting job, which is why we have seen more Jeff Driscoll activated and not Kyle Allen, but there was a real idea and thought of bringing in Sam Howell. Let's go ahead and move forward. I want to ask you guys about Davis Mills. Well, not Davis Mills, I'm sorry. The future of this team for the next 12 games as 3 people really who cover the Houston Texans. But K-Scott, this is for you. And Sarge, if you want to chime along, please do. What is something that when the season is over with, you can at the very least say after the bye week, the Houston Texans improved on blank?
So the thing that I want to see them improve after the bye week, post bye week, that they need to improve?
Yes.
Okay, so for sure, the offense is number one. Opening it up a little bit. Now, I'll point to one thing in particular, given how much Dameon Pierce is being used and how productive he's been. We're gonna have to do something serious about the second running back. Like, if they want to keep trotting out Rex out there, like, that's gonna bother people. I get it, but I don't know how bad Darian Gubawale or Royce Freeman can be, but at the very least, to me, like, it's a priority to not run Dameon Pierce into the ground. Like, I feel like you've seen a lot of him, and he needs to continue to get touches and experience, but you also need to have a credible second back. And I feel like they need to figure that part out. The passing game is a problem, is an issue. They don't seem to have faith in it at all. So I would like to see them open it up. We've talked about before on previous podcasts how I would like to see O.J. Howard get more involved. What ended up happening since we said that? Jordan Akins, and I know this is a Jordan Akins friendly podcast, especially with Sarge on it.
Just by the way, that's my homeboy now. By the way, we always chopping up at his locker. Sarge be over there, be wanting to talk to Petrie and Stingley, but me and Akins, that's the homie. That's the homie.
Jordan Akins good to talk to, man. He's good to talk to, kind of good to have back. But either way, like more than anything, just focusing more on exploiting some of the matchups with their tight ends. Like I just want to see them open things up with this offense a little bit more, and it not be so primitive the way it seems to have been the last couple of games. Like think about the first, like for as much crap as Pep Hamilton has been getting. Think about like just dream with me for a second and go back to like that first half of the Indianapolis game. I actually thought he was scheming guys open, and that he actually had a lot to do with that 20-3 lead that they got. Like they were playing well, but sometime after that, the play calling really started to kind of just get real stale. And again, I'm not trying to be super critical about it because it could be indicative of how they feel about their personnel. But for me, I just want to see more. I want to see a lot more.
Well, me real quickly, I only got 5 words to say. Get Nico the damn ball. Wait. Get Nico the damn. Oh, that's 4, right? Damn, I said 5, didn't I?
Bro, man.
Get Nico the damn ball. That's 5, right? 5 words. Get him the damn ball. That's all I got to say. This young man is beating he's beating the coverage a lot, and he's a big wide receiver. So, and he doesn't mind going up to get the ball. Just get him the ball. That's all I got to say.
And with that being said, that concludes this epic crossover installment of the Locked On Texans. B. Scott, Sarge, thank you guys so much for joining John and myself. This was truly an honor, man, and hopefully we have an opportunity to do this again. Before we go, can we please, B. Scott, tell them where they can follow you at on social media, and Sarge, please tell them where they can follow you at on social media, and be sure to drop when you guys are going to be on the radio. As a matter of fact, depending on when you guys hear this, B. Scott's going to be on the radio. Same thing as Sarge.
Yeah, man. At Brandon K. Scott on Twitter. You can find everything there. And I will be on Sports Radio 610 from 6 to 8 on Monday morning. If y'all happen to catch this before then, you probably won't. But I will have been on Sports Radio 610 from 6 to 8 on what they call a Texans Monday on Sports Radio 610. But on Tuesday, hey, look, y'all check this out. I'll be on with Run the Show Hughley from 2 to 6. So that's gonna be a doggone party. So y'all come join us, man. Hey, man. And look, I'm telling you, man. Me and Ron get together, man. Ain't no telling what's gonna be said or done on the air. So y'all make sure y'all check that out. Now I know y'all will hear this before Tuesday from 2 to 6. So check me out there.
Yeah, and wait, hold on one second. Cody, I've been putting Jordan on hold so I could tell him that lie you told on this podcast. So
it's fine. It's fine. I had already talked to Jordan before we got on the pod. Jordan was like, "Yo, make sure you give me a shout out." I was like, "I got you, bro. I got you."
Lying on your name again. He didn't even know how to spell Jordan. He a Michael Jordan fan. He said he thought your name was spelled K-O-B.
Jordan,
I'm gonna call you back. Hey, you can find me at Big Star Sports with the Z at the end on Twitter and on Instagram. You can also listen to my podcast, Sports Talk with Big Sarge Podcast, available wherever you get your podcast from. And you can hear me on Sports Talk 790 Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on In the Trenches from 10 to 12 p.m. In the Trenches, hosted by former NFL player Indy Kalu. I'm also Texans Wire USA Today. Read all my articles.
Y'all pissed off some old lady on Friday when she was talking.
I know, boy, but she was a Yankee fan though. Like
Regina, she brought that on herself. Reggie
she did.
Reggie got it. Reggie said that bang you heard was the men running out your house.
Oh my God.
Make sure you follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. I just have a lot of fun on Twitter. UT is doing great for me right now. So Saturdays, just be prepared for me to talk as much craziness as I want to because I'm a fan of the game. But make sure you follow us on Twitter at Locked On Texans and on YouTube as well at Locked On Texans as well.
And as always, I'm your host, Cody M. Davis. Please remember to follow me on Twitter at CodyDavis_24. Once again, that's Cody, COTYDAVIS_24. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.